Hello. Hi, Donna. Hi, Matt. Nice to see you here. I know lots more people are expected to come, so. Oh, you need to put earphones on, I think.
I've muted.
It's echoing. Well, I have to have my mic working, but you don't have to have your mic working. Oh. Did you go to the other room? Okay, sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody. Last time I didn't have to listen to myself. Getting feedback. Yes, I am in the correct browser. Okay, I have an idea. Yes, I know what it is. Okay, that's better, right? Awesome. Okay, fixed. Beautiful. Oh, it's nice when the technical difficulties get ironed out. All right. Some more people coming in. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Debbie. Yes, Matt, I'm sorry about all that echoing. I'm sorry, everybody, about all the echoing. Yes, so can we see the table? That's right. So for everybody who's here, how are you doing with the isolation situation? Hi, Colleen. If you want to let me know how you're doing, and did you bring anything with you to work or play with? Hi, Mirren. Makes it an authentic stream. Yeah, really, Matt. This is how you know it's the real deal. No hey, slick operation here.
Mariah Crawford.
Oh, yeah? Awesome. She hasn't shown up in my feed
hi,
yet.
Kim, great to see you.
Oh, hi, Mariah. That's great. I think you're our first American visitor. So nice to see you. Hope you're doing well. So I was wondering, the first of these live streams that I did, the whole isolation thing was really new. And I'm wondering if you're finding ways to settle into your new lifestyle, your new more constrained lifestyle. I can feel the difference for me this week, I know, and I'm not totally settled in, but it's definitely improving. What have we got here? Walking helps, yeah. What, chocolate and Perrier? Chocolate and Perrier sounds nice. That's from Gwen. Hi, Gwen. It's so nice to see you. Hanging out, just finished some painting. Great, great. And Debbie's brought her jelly plate. And you're eating a lot. I noticed lots of people are cooking. One of Matt's and my colleagues at the Redhead Gallery, her art practice is very much around cooking, and she just, oh yes, was it today or yesterday? She posted this fabulous chocolate, freshly baked chocolate bread loaf that she was slicing into thick slices, and oh my God, I thought I was going to die watching it. Colleen, I'm more anxious actually thinking about what will happen next. Yeah. So in the midst of the first part of the crisis, you were probably just dealing with the crisis and okay, but now you're sort of reflecting on it more, and I can understand that.
Mira just joined us. Hi, Mira.
Mira, so glad you joined us. Matt, I'm enjoying it, truth be told, and you're not alone. I know, I think that artists, I'm sure they're not the only people, but artists in particular have an advantage with this social isolation, which is they're like, wow, you mean I can do studio time all the time or much more? That's pretty great. Yeah. Hi, Christine. So glad you could make it. You're settling into a new, yeah. Finding a new routine is kind of key to being grounded. And I found I've been fielding a lot more emails and messages and things of people who are, either really in distress, they're having trouble coping and don't recognize themselves, or they're having low level distress, so not something that maybe they're even thinking they're in distress, but the 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 differences in how they're uh, responding to things and working and so on show that they've got some low level distress. And so it's one of my big pieces of advice. There's so many good suggestions, and you can share in the comments your best suggestions, as some of you have already started to. But getting into your body as opposed to your head is really, really helpful, whether that's walking or yoga or exercise or just your senses. So I totally understand the cooking thing, right? Because it's fragrance and it's flavor and it's texture and you're doing things with your hands. So anything to do with the senses. And of course, music is huge because it has such a profound effect on our state of mind. Debbie's making chocolate bubka. Awesome. Trying not to get down, purging a lot. I haven't got to that yet. I'm really hoping to get some time to do that. I've been so focused on getting online stuff figured out and up and running, but yeah, that's great. Yeah, Colleen, anyone with dogs, the dogs are thrilled, unless you already work from home, of course, but the dogs are doubtless thrilled. Mirren's walking every day. That's so good, Mirren. Have you seen the stories of people who've on apartment balconies where they're in a serious lockdown situation and they're doing like marathons, walking the lengths of their balconies, or walking around their dining table? So, people can find ways. Yeah, Cal always gets his daily exercise. Nancy's signed up for too many online courses. So here's another thing I'm hoping to do during this time is catch up on some of my 8 million online courses I've signed up for. They're self-running, so I can join them anytime, but that's great. It's great because you have things to look forward to and things to engage yourself, and it's an opportunity. I think Matt's probably enjoying it because it's an opportunity for him to spend time doing what he loves. And taking courses is the same thing. Baking feels like something you're supposed to do in a major crisis, doesn't it? It's like, I don't know, stocking up on toilet paper, but much, much nicer. Oh, don't worry about late arrival, Pam. Arrive when you can. Hooray for emotional eating. Yeah, that's so funny. I am not connected. Oh, so Cal's helping you with that, Mira. Good. Okay. Yeah. So I got, I see. Christine, I think it was an Italian, right, who ran the equivalent of a marathon on his balcony. Seriously, talk about good focus. So what's my excuse, right? Well, I feel very fortunate because we live in a detached house and we have a patio that is actually has some length to it because our house is wide but not deep. So the patio runs the whole width, and I thought, if it came to it, if we were no longer allowed, even with social distancing, to go into the park, I would do the patio. Anybody else bring anything to play with, or to work on, or to make, or whatever? When I first thought of this, I thought about artists. I was thinking about the kind of, people like me, the kind of people who take my classes, and how they would be missing creative community. And then I realized, well, honestly, people could bring anything that they can reasonably manage while having it stream. And you
Yeah.
don't have to be watching me. You can just be working on whatever you're working on, but have the company.
Colleen says doodling. Perfect.
Oh, doodling's great. So I'm going to do some mixed media today, and you're going to see me being me, which is to say, this is not a tutorial. It's not set up like a cooking class where I've got everything all figured out and I'm going to pull miraculously completed things out and we can all go ooh. I'm making it up as I go along, which is what I do. Kind of my job, right? And but I have a starting point, and this is what I'm always saying to people: like, you just need a starting point. So I have some paper. I'm very materials mean a lot to me, even though I work digitally and I love that. I always also have to work physically and balance it out. So I have some of that deli paper, that the unwaxed deli paper I was using last virtual studio party, which is translucent. You can see my hand through it. Oh, it sandwiches in. But this is the unwaxed kind so that it can take water-based media. So I have some of that. And of course, that is reminiscent of some kinds of Asian papers. And so I have a good supply. My mother, years ago, used to take Chinese painting and calligraphy classes. And a couple of years ago, I guess, she gave me her leftover paper stocks. And so I have some sumi paper, and it has a beautiful laid finish. I don't know if I can show that. You can see that. See, there's a hint of vertical stripes, and then some much more tightly spaced horizontal stripes. And that's because of the surface that the paper is pressed against when it's made. And happens to be one of my favorite finishes when I was a graphic designer and speccing papers for stationery and so on. Laid finish was a favorite for me. Should just check in with the chat. Is there anything I should know about, Cal, so I can get...
Pam says, just a heads up, the evening time is filled with musicians doing a lot of home concerts online as well. Love the contact, but it's hard to pick.
Well, isn't that nice to have the choice? So, something I should mention right now is that I'm going to have another one of these Saturday afternoon. And after that, I'm just going to make it one per week on Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, okay? And I'll make another Facebook event, and you'll see it pop up on social media channels. And if I really get my act together, I'll actually get an issue of my newsletter out, because March was when I was supposed to get my goal to get a newsletter out. And with everything that's going on, I've had to update my website and figure out all this online stuff. I'd never done a YouTube live stream until last Friday. So, and those of you who were here know that there were just a few minutes of technical snafus at the beginning. So, because I'm used to working in Zoom, which requires an app download, and live on social media, but I wanted to make this as accessible as possible so that people didn't have to be on Facebook, they didn't have to be on Instagram, and so on. Some people aren't techie enough to feel confident downloading an app, and they may not have access to their usual tech support person, their son or daughter, grandson or granddaughter, for example. So that's why it was worth it to try out the YouTube live stream. Now, this other paper I have is, isn't this a nice label? I have no idea what that says. I assume it says something about paper, but there is an English sales label. This is paper, an 18-inch roll I bought for, it's designed for Japanese brush painting, sumie, and from Curry's. Now, some of you know that Curry's art store can be rather uneven in terms of they carry something one time you go and the next time, oh no, we don't carry that anymore. No. Or they simply don't have stock and you don't know when it'll come in. But just so you know that you've now seen the label. And anyway, so I think at some point I was explaining I'm going to do a little mixed media. So I want to do a little bit of drawing with dry media on some of this paper and compare it. I want to see what the feel is like by comparison.
Pam says, uneven, your kind.
Feel free to express it, any way you want without being threatening or violent. Kindness is the
watchword.
Yeah, watchword for this live stream. So I can be kind to Curry's as well. Yeah. All right. Now, where are my drawing materials? Whoops. Sorry, dear. So I've got some lovely charcoal of the willow kind. Some of my favorite stuff to draw with. There. Oops. There you can see it. I think I need to tilt this so that we can see the table better. So I'm a little cut off, but actually, if I move this closer to me, then I can tilt it up a bit. Okay.
I can back this up a bit.
Okay. That'd be good.
How's that?
That's better. Good. Okay. I'm going to, I keep a duotang with references of antique anatomical drawings and engravings of hearts. I should say drawings and engravings of anatomical hearts. And, like here's a classic. This is one you see all the time, which is very nice. And I just love all those lines. But I also love the, if anyone saw the shows I had at Redhead or in November, or the Gladstone Hotel more recently in January through March, I also like open views that open up the heart. Now this one's covered in charcoal from my live drawing performance, but that does it for me. I know I'm a freak, but it really does it for me. So I might have to work with that one, but I'll just flip through the rest of them to see.
Pam says, me too.
Does it for her?
Oh, so.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. This is wonderful. This is medical imaging of a heart and the blood vessels in it.
Wow.
And I love medical imaging. My mother is getting some medical imaging of her heart. She's probably fine, but she's a little, I guess things feel a little different, and it might be anxiety because I used to have panic attacks, and I remember it used to make me feel like I was having a heart attack. So Nancy said,
does it for me too. Big fan of antique prints illustrations.
Oh yeah, they're so beautiful. Anyway, I've begged my mother to ask for copies of her medical imaging of her heart because I think she's getting some functional imaging, and Yeah, that would really do it for me. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the willow charcoal. And I'm not going to be, my feeling, I feel like my hands feel loose today, like they want to, and my mind feels like it wants to be loose about how I draw this. And so I will obey how my hands and so on are feeling. And I will periodically hold things up so you see what's what. Once I'm finished drawing with the dry media, my intention is to do some printing.
Colleen says she wasn't allowed to keep her imaging.
Why?
Yeah.
It's your... That's messed up. I got my imaging for my brain. I paid $5 and they put it online for me, and I got a whole lot. I got all the photographs they took of my brain. This was after my concussion, about a month after my car accident 2 years ago. My doctor was concerned that I might have a brain bleed because of the way certain systems were behaving, and thankfully it was fine, but it was really good that she checked it out. And bonus, I got medical imaging, so that should make it all worthwhile, don't you think? Oh, it feels nice to draw. This is actually the first time drawing since all this stuff started happening, and oh, it just feels so good and grounding. That's one of the main things that I think the people who've been in touch with me need is, as I do, is grounding.
So Pam says she got her imaging and thoroughly intend on using it.
Yeah.
Not great.
Sometimes the imaging is the best part, right? I relate.
And
what does Mariah say?
says these days it's so much easier because it's electronic.
Yeah, exactly.
But Colleen, it was quite recent. So.
I can't even understand how they can not allow you to have your own imaging. It's yeah, like I think that could be challenged, honestly. I don't care what the hospital policy is, or because that's your body and your medical information.
Yeah.
And for example, if you wanted, I'm not saying you do want to, but if you did want a second opinion or a third opinion, you'd need to take that imaging with you.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And you can also, you could say you're an artist and you might need to use it for your art, your own damn body. So, yeah. I know. Tell you what I really think, right?
Always self-editing.
Yeah, that's right. So it's interesting. This is also the first time I've drawn on deli paper. I'm going to try the large charcoal. Let's see how that responds. Where did I? Oh, here. Here. But actually, I might want this size instead. Sorry, I'm muttering. I don't mean to mutter.
Gwen earlier said she bought a steno pad to write on. She learned Pittman shorthand, and today she's practicing the warm-up exercises in her pad. It's quite meditative.
Wow, that's so interesting.
She can still write secret notes that no one else can read.
Awesome. All right, so let's see if it will take some. Yeah, it takes it. Of course, I'm good at tearing paper, so let's see what I've done here.
Jim's on a tear.
No, it just crinkled. So that's actually impressive because this is very thin paper. Yeah, crinkling is
Jane
fine.
Laster Gordon has joined us.
Hey, Jane. Welcome to the party, Jane. let us know how you're doing with all this before you. Are you running off?
Nope, first
Oh,
experience
okay.
ever, and doing this with no techie support. Excellent.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, before you got on, Jane, I intentionally chose YouTube to make it as easy as possible for everybody, because I wanted everybody who had internet and a computer and a browser to be able to join in. And so I'm so glad you made it. Let us know how you're doing with the, with everything that's going on. Are you doing okay? And did you bring something that you're going to make or work or play with? Or I'm just looking for an eraser. I got this latex-free stapler drafting eraser that I'm hoping works well and feels good. It's more eco because it's healthier for latex allergy. I don't know if it's more eco. It could be something awful. Let's see. Oh, it works a charm. Okay. Let's see how this goes. Right, I need a white backer sheet. So just for any of you who are curious about how the willow charcoal takes on the deli paper, there it is. And the erasing goes well. I'll do some very definite things through it. You can see the erasing goes well as well, so that's good. That's the eraser. Came in a set with, in theory anyway, environmentally preferable pencils that included latex-free erasers at the ends of the pencils. Also, they're beautiful yellow-green like this, which is a color I love, so. All right, well, maybe I'll try this other paper and just see how that goes. Try the small sheet of Sumier paper. Tomorrow was the day I was supposed to be doing a live demonstration in the afternoon at the Japanese paper place, which was something I was really excited about doing. It's the first event I was going to do for them, and they're just so fantastic there. Their products and in-depth knowledge are unparalleled. And Nancy, the owner, is just an amazing human being. And anyway, Nancy said that for sure once things are back to normal, they'll reschedule me. But it's so sad to think of them closed down now. Necessary, obviously, but it is sad. Okay, let's see what this stuff is like. Ooh, this takes charcoal better. I can tell you that from the first stroke.
Gwen says, Kim made an important comment that we can all find grounding in doing something creative. It's true.
Thanks, Gwen. Yeah, I think it's true, and that's whatever creative activity is good for you. One of the things I think about situations like this is the loss of control, and I think they're saying that the reason people are like compulsively stocking up on outrageous amounts of toilet paper is because it's something they've latched onto, and there's a kind of group. It's infectious in the group, but it's a thing they can control. Like they can breathe easier because they know they've got enough toilet paper to last them the next 6 months, or to the end of the year. And it's something they can control, except for those who arrive after those people and can't get a single roll. But I think it's getting better in a lot of places because people's cupboards and basements are filling up.
Mariah says she finds it interesting how far from the tip you're holding the charcoal. What does that do?
If I hold it too close to the tip, I'm very, very limited in what I can do with it. I get very, very tight and very pinched and so on. Whereas if I hold it like this, I can make that line do all kinds of stuff. And you see how my hand is free to move around? And so the ability to make a line do a lot of things, doing this kind of free form stuff allows me to do this kind of line. If I can't do this, then I can't do this. Okay. Because it relies on the ability to roll and, gee, I wonder why it went dark. To roll like that. Yeah, it's really key. Oh, well, I should show you. Look how black that line is. I can compare it with how gray it is on the deli paper. So willow charcoal is a gray charcoal. It's not like compressed charcoal is, which has, it's compressed and often includes pigment to boost the blackness. But I'm astonished at how black that one looks, because willow charcoal is literally made from twigs, cooked at the right temperature, just the right temperature to turn it to pure carbon. And wow, I don't think I've ever gotten such a black line from willow charcoal before. Yeah.
Mariah says thanks.
Oh, you're welcome. So that's very instructive. There are a lot of properties there's so many kinds of Japanese paper, and they all have different properties, different strengths, and so on. But I never imagined that this was something that could happen with the Japanese paper. So I'm just going to make a bigger area of darkness, maybe on the outside. I should have I have a big soft badger hair brush I use for brushing off eraser dust and charcoal dust. But yeah, look how nice and black that is, even without a backer sheet. It's quite amazing. There. So I'll try the eraser in that area and see what I get. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. Wow. So one of my heroes, and he was my mentor as well, who works with an artist from Montreal who works with charcoal and eraser on paper. He's famous for his ceramic work. He also paints, but it was his charcoal work that I fell in love with when he had a big show at the Gardner Museum. And they had a video of him making making his clay work and his drawings. His clay work was also astounding to watch him make because it's like abstract expressionist clay, really technically very, very challenging. But his charcoal drawings, they were big and they were as exciting and full of life as paintings. And that was a big shock to me, even as someone who drawing is a absolute foundational practice for me. So charcoal and eraser are a thing I really love. And one of the things I love are effects you can get from it. And just that simple, you saw that dark area I did. I'll bring this in closer. There are such beautiful qualities. I hope you can see that, that the lighting's good enough. Just such beautiful qualities to that erased line. And it can end up looking a bit like X-rays, which brings us back to medical imaging. That's kind of fun. All right. So I'm totally impressed with that calligraphy paper. That one feels the same on both sides. This one, the roll from Curry's, is definitely different on each side. It's shiny and smooth, so I think it's been pressed on this one side, and the other side is rougher, more fibrous feeling, and it just hasn't had that finish pressing that the other side has. So if I were working wet, this side would tend to lose control more, which can be really fun to play with, but sometimes it can go too far. And this smooth side is the side that's intended for traditional calligraphy and painting. So let's see how well I can draw on it. Well, I guess I need a bit of tape because it's rolling on me.
Barbara Kendrick says, "So nice of you to do this."
Aw, hi, Barbara. So nice of you to come. I am, when the crisis hit, once we sort of got some basic supplies in the house, obviously, and just visited my mother and that kind of thing, I just couldn't help thinking about all the people in isolation. And we need each other, even if we're introverts. And I know I seem very extroverted, but Cal can attest to the fact that while I love people and I love engaging, I have to recover afterwards. So that puts me in the more introverted side. But we need each other because we are wired for as social beings, for survival. And that means it affects our mood and it affects our if we're really anxious, we need at least one other person to kind of help ground us if possible. And I know lots of people who live alone, and I think, some of them, of course, are fine, but it's harder when you live alone going through something like this. Unless, of course, you're living with someone that makes it harder to go through something like this, right? I'm fortunate. We're helping each other through it. So, but anyway, I'm glad if it's nice. My hope is that it's just a nice way to spend some time. And
Vera just joined us, and she just realized she was watching an older video from the 20s.
Well, hey, you're getting a bit of both. Well, welcome, Vera. So glad you could join us. Yeah. All right. I have someone I've become friendly with in China who she's from Shenzhen. She's a curator, college or university instructor, and artist, I believe. And she normally lives in Berlin, but she's from Shenzhen. And of course, she went home for Chinese New Year. And so she's still in Shenzhen. And anyway, I was hoping that tonight's timing would work with, because her time zone is so completely opposite to ours. But it's a little too early in the morning for her, so she's going to watch it afterwards. And that's good to know, by the way. There are replay videos for each of these. As Vera mentioned, she was watching one of them.
So I asked if anyone was at home alone, and Vera says yes.
Ah, well, I'm especially glad that you're here with us, Vera. I was just saying, I'm not sure if you were here for that you know, me putting myself in other people's shoes, I thought being alone could be at times harder, for sure, during this time. And that was one of the things I was thinking about when I decided to do these live streams. I wanted to mention, Cal and I watched a couple of fantastic documentary films on musical ones. And one was the recent Scorsese directed one. Martin Scorsese directed it on the Rolling Stones doing a tour in Latin America, including Cuba. And it was so good. Oh, and the other, what was it? Ole Ole Ole, it's called, and it's on Netflix. And the other one we just finished watching. What's up?
Okay.
Yeah, the other one we just finished watching last night was Bruce Springsteen on Broadway, and it's a one-man show, and he talks and he tells stories and he plays music and he's at the piano, he's on guitar, and for a couple of songs his wife joins him for a duet. It was
Really?
very moving. He is such a humane, intelligent, insightful man and artist. So it was really, I really recommend that. Do you have anything you recommend? I mean, I found the combination of music plus the film really, really great for both of those. But do you have some recommendations that you'd like to share? Share them in the chat, because I'm up for more recommendations, and I'm sure other people here would be happy to as well. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm drawing while not thinking, because when I'm talking, I'm notoriously detached from what I'm doing. Anybody who's taken a class with me knows how easily I can lose track of things when I'm talking. But it can be quite lovely what happens when I'm drawing. It's like when I do performance drawing, like I did at the 2 in situ festivals in Mississauga. And they've scheduled another in situ festival for this year, actually. Since it's in November, hopefully it will actually happen, but we'll see. They might have to postpone it, like so many things. Anyway, our intention is to be back at it if they have it this year. Okay, let's get some.
Christine says Dan and I have watched both the Rolling Stones doc and Springsteen, both worth watching.
Yeah.
I posted a link to the trailer for the Springsteen.
Oh, good, good. Yeah, so good for the soul. And it just transports you, they both of them just transport you right out of whatever situation you find yourself in these days. It can be great to have a break from all of it. So this is interesting. I'm getting not as black a line as I did on the small sumi paper, but a pretty dark line, much darker than on the deli paper. But as I'm doing this, bits of the paper fiber are rolling off. It almost looks like erasure dust, but it's not. It's paper fibers. And this is on the pressed side. So, you know, I would expect that more from the fibrous side. But so interesting. So, you know, this is a classic research practice in my studio, right? Comparing surfaces, trying things out. One of the nice things about this one tonight is because I'm sitting down thoughtfully. What are you doing with your fingers there?
Just ignore me.
Okay, I'll ignore you, dear.
I'm thinking. That's
right.
the problem.
It was just a little distraction over
Sorry.
there. No, it's fine. Because I was preparing for you guys, I was, I don't know, a little more methodical about putting together my experiment than I sometimes am for myself. Sometimes for myself, it'll happen sort of over time. I'll say, oh yeah, I remember I did that thing, so I should try it on the same thing on this other surface or with a different tool or whatever it is I'm changing, whatever variable I'm changing. And but this time I'm doing a proper comparison side by side. So maybe I'll see if I can show you the fibers. Let's see how gymnastic I can get with this laptop. How's that looking, Cal?
I can't. I'm lagging. So.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Can you see the dust? Okay. A little.
Not so well.
No.
Oh no. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm seeing it.
Okay. Great. Anyway, for some of you, that just might be too much information, but I know there's got to be at least one or two of you who will be delighted to see that much detail. Oh. I think I've messed up the angle a little bit. All right, let's get it a little bit up. There, that's enough, eh? All right, so now I'll do the erasure test. Well, first, maybe I'll do an area with the fatter charcoal. So nice and black. Wow, I'm getting big rolls of fiber coming off. I wish I had tweezers. Loads of those coming off. I should maybe get a brush and brush them away. There. This can replace my Badger brush for now. I'll brush it onto the floor because that's what vacuums are for. But the surface is actually still covered in that stuff. Now I'll take my eraser and see what I can get out of it. It's good. It erases well, but less defined. this off.
Um,
Any chat?
so Rosemary has texted me saying, watching you live on YouTube, where is the chat button? And so should I
It should be to the right of the screen. Sort of at the
unless she's got it full screen, which she may not do.
Yeah. So make the if you can make the video part not full screen, Rosemary, you should be able to see the chat to the right. You may have to click at the top of a column to the right of the video screen, or it may just be streaming. Ideally, it would be streaming. Just want to show you the eraser. So it's pretty good, but of course it's pulling off a lot of fibers. So I would say that this paper better suits wet media. Of course, you can throw in some dry media, but you don't want to do big involved dry drawing media on it. Of course, it's rolled up now, so I guess I better get another piece of tape.
Vera says, press the live chat button next to the share button.
Oh, thank you, Vera.
So say that again.
Yeah, press the live chat button, Rosemary, that is located next to the share button, with thanks to Vera for that pointer. I'm sorry because I'm not able to see what you're seeing because of being set up and needing to be set up as I am. So there's nothing like a little bit of hive mind.
Barbara Kendrick says she had to sign up to Google and then accept a chat before I could comment or see chat inputs.
Okay. So Rosemary, Barbara Kendrick said that she had to sign up for Google. YouTube is now owned by Google, and accept chat.
A chat, yeah.
Accept a chat in order to be able to access the live chat. So if you don't have a Google account, just set one up that you don't have to use it for email or anything. And although you could, and you can use Google Drive and all the other things, but you can just use it to watch YouTube live streams. And there are lots of interesting YouTube live streams. Okay, so now that I've tried those 3 papers, I think I might print on this wet media, the last paper. Might use that.
Mira says she's getting inspired with your demonstration.
Oh, good. Feeling inspired is awesome. That can lift me out of any funk. Yeah. So I'll just unroll some more paper here. And I've got my my Prismacolor new pastels, which are a kind of chalk pastel I really like using because they're a little less dusty than the cheap and cheerful ones, and actually some really expensive ones. They're just a little less dusty than the traditional soft pastels, and loaded with pigment. And I can work water into them. As long as I'm on a nice absorbent. There's my tape. It's like a roller blind, this thing.
Is that mulberry? Barbara asks.
Well, it doesn't give me a lot of information. Yeah, doesn't say anything about the fiber. And if I could read Japanese, I might know, something people might know. I would guess that it is mulberry because that is the most common basis. For example, the Chinese paper I use all the time which is commonly referred to as rice paper, but is actually mulberry paper. And I'll just mention that there are papers that are made from rice fibers, but what's usually called rice paper is actually mulberry based. And that, I think, was the original paper that China invented, was mulberry based, that then got exported to Japan and turned into, in wonderful Japanese fashion, into all kinds of wonderful forms and variations. Yes, dear.
Nancy asks, which brand of soft pastel is your favorite? New Pastel?
I really like New Pastel, I have to say. I do also use Mungyo has I can't buy the super expensive ones. The names are escaping me. That are super soft and they sort of melt as you draw, but they're just, powy with their pigment load. But honestly, you just burn through it. So this is what New Pastels look like. They're a little narrower but longer than regular chalk or soft pastels. And I think I thought one of the things that might be fun with this is to lay in some activity. Of course, I've got some bumps on my work surface because oh well, I'll just have bumps. And they'll show up because I'm essentially doing rubbings of my work surface with this right now. And I know what I forgot to do today. I forgot to put my barrier cream on. Oh well. I'll do it before I get my paints out. So I'm just making an abstract color ground. Before I start printing shapes onto it. Nice thing about the New Pastels is you can, if you find a store that carries them, you can buy individual replacement colors, including colors that maybe you didn't even have in your set, unless, of course, you had the ginormous set that I covet. Hey, Pam, are you still on here? I'm using yellow. I just wanted you to know I don't hate yellow.
Barbara Kendrick says, okay, just saw the refer, and yes, it is a mulberry paper. She says, barrier cream. I think we need cloaking devices right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's beyond our normal artist needs for barrier cream, right? Yeah. So I hope you won't mind my sharing this, Barb, but one of the things I had started to do just in the 2 or 3 weeks before the crisis hit and people were staying home, I was going on Thursday mornings to a printmakers group at Nielsen Park Creative Center in Etobicoke. which is western part of Toronto, for those of you who are out of town. And full of people I know and love, and some people I don't know so well, but I'm friendly with. And I just sat at my table while they did all their wonderful press using things. I just did jelly plate printing. And so I was having a wonderful experience of creative community, which I had been somewhat lacking, with the exception, of course, of Redhead Gallery, that Matt and I are both members of. But at Redhead Gallery, normally we get together for meetings, and me less frequently, but openings. And so meetings, it's nice to get together, but you got business to attend to. Whereas just hanging out with some artists and chatting and using materials and stuff, that's for me, that's a nice experience. And I guess that might be part of the reason why I thought of doing this, because I'd been having that experience recently. And so subconsciously, I was looking for a replacement for that.
Barbara sends heart eyes.
Aw, that's nice. Thanks, Barb. We had lots of nice conversations. Yeah, I'm thinking I'd like some gray. It's such a wonderful tactile pleasure to doing this, just moving. I don't have a plan. I've just got a surface and a little set of tools, a little set of colors, and yeah, there's just nothing that can replace the beautiful experience of that. And being mindful of that sensory experience, I think helps us pull away from being attached to a specific outcome for this specific piece, or any given piece that you start doing something with. Because then you're immersed in your body, not your head, and you're immersed in the process of what you're doing, not trying to simultaneously use your maker brain and your critic brain, which is not a good thing. They're separate functions.
Doing and judging.
Doing and judging, yes, that's a good way of expressing it, Tim.
Keep them separate.
Yeah. Of course, later on you can reflect on what you've done, hopefully on more than one thing, though. That's also important. Or more than one part of a large thing.
A good time to plug our upcoming critique idea.
Oh, yeah, do that. I think Cal's going to enter in the chat. One of the things he and I came up with was thinking about online stuff that we could do, is to offer a online critique group. We wouldn't do that on YouTube. We'd do it on Zoom, where we can share photos and screens and so on. and see each other's faces and hear each other's voices. But if that sounds interesting to you, let us know, and we'll make sure you know about it when it rolls out. Because that's one of the things about not having access to classes that you might normally attend, or not even classes, but artistic community, where you get to discuss what you're up to and get some feedback, get some perspective on what you're doing, get some suggestions. Yeah. Cal and I belong to a small group of artists. We have a couple of groups we belong to, but this is the first one we ever were part of. And the other artists are mostly older than us. And so we had a meeting set up in March, and they were going to cancel it. And we said, no way, let's do it on Zoom. And so we were able to do what we usually do. We all showed up with our favorite refreshments and shared, 1 or 3 pieces of work and had a discussion about it. It was really nice.
Pam and Jane both think that's a great idea.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
I've mentioned when we're the start date.
Oh, good, because I can't remember any of that stuff.
Tuesday, April 14th.
Tuesday, April 14th, Cal
In the
says.
afternoon. For
anyone who can't see the chat, you can just contact us via social media or email or whatever you got for us, our website, if that's interesting to you. Okay. I'm trying to get the loose stuff off the top here. And actually, I realize, I should have rubbed some. I'm going to put some barrier cream on now, because
Where's your mask, Kim? You're supposed to wear a mask when you're doing
mask? I only wear masks for viruses now. There's not enough powder for me to worry about it.
I got a big waft.
Oh, sorry, dear. Well, we could put up a little acrylic wall for you. Yeah. Oh, we've got something about, Vera has mentioned about the Richmond Hill Art Group.
Oh, yeah, that's way long ago.
Well, I haven't heard it, so I'd love you to read it to me.
The Richmond Hill Art Group was asking people to try drawing in one continuous line. So I have responded to that and posted a link to it.
It is lots of fun. That's something, anyone who's taken my figurative art class or some of my portrait classes, we've done that because it's one of my favorite things to do. I'm glad that they had that prompt. It's so great seeing all the creative prompts that are coming out, isn't it? All right.
Yours goes the other way.
Does it?
No.
No, I don't think so. Am I missing some chat? Is that why you're...
Yeah, these are old.
Isn't there anything more further down?
I think so.
That's weird. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. That's why. Well, so you're going to have to make sure you read out to me.
All right.
Because I can't read it.
My ass off. About the dusty charcoal, I think.
Yeah. There we go. All right. So I've rubbed this in now so that it does leave a little bit on my hands, but it's not super loose anymore. And I've never done this before, and that's where I like to be. My comfort zone is my discomfort zone or something. I don't know. Just a quirk of my personality, I guess. So I thought it'd be fun to try printing on this now that it's like that. And so it's a nice big piece of paper. I'll put away my references. So I think I should probably use a bigger plate. I might actually need my big plate. My biggest plate is 12 by 12. Just get it. It's off camera. I'll be back. Here we are. So yes, this is my pride and joy. So there are a number of companies that make these gel plates for printing, and probably the best known is Jelly Arts. This one is Gel Press. Speedball also makes them. And I think there might be another company called Ranger or something like that, but those three for sure I know. There we go. You know, I think this might be the first time I'm going to use this. So this is like the international premiere for my 12 by 12 plate. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful thing? Oh, this makes me so happy. Gotta tell you.
Is that pristine?
It is a virgin plate. It's so clean, clear and shiny. No bubbles. I don't even know what to do with a plate like that anymore. This calls for a bigger brayer than my usual one. That's for sure. Ugh. And of course, the computer is positioned exactly where the drawer for my stuff is, but that's fine. Thank you, dear. Just back it up a little bit. There, that's good, eh? Yeah, you can see most of the sheet of paper. Now, I think this calls for some gray-green. Yeah, that's really going to do it for me. So, well, this is classic. I'm running out of space here. I bet lots of you are having that problem working at home, right?
Rosemary can't get the chat, but she is watching.
Okay.
She's never used a jelly pad.
Oh. Well, it's quite addictive, I have to say. You know, one of the things I find about it is that it's really fun and responsive, and you'll see, you know, in terms of layering up color, you have to think in printmaking terms, in terms of building layer by layer and what sequence do the layers go, but you can do more than one layer on the plate and then print from it. And it does unpredictable things, and sometimes that's it takes a while to adjust to that, and sometimes it's just a gift from God, or a gift from the gods, or from whatever.
Matthew's leaving.
Okay. Thanks for joining us, Matt. Enjoyed it. Where's the Tyvek?
It was on the floor.
Yeah, no, there was a piece you prepared for me. There we go. Okay.